I'm Thomas, and I'm the Head of Analytics and Compliance at the XRP Ledger Foundation. And with me on stage today, I have Scott, who is our advisor on education and on social outreach. First of all, I would like to thank everybody for coming. Last year, we did 2 simultaneous events, one here in Vegas and one in Tallinn in Estonia, both of which we had very great feedback on. But even though it's a longer trip for some than others to go here to Vegas and meet this year, it's just really exciting to bring together a larger group of the broader XRP Ledger developer community this year. So I think we're a lot of people from all around the world. So just to start off with a little background. The XRP Ledger Foundation was founded in 2020 as a non-profit entity. It had initial funding from the XRP Ledger stakeholders such as Ripple and Coil and GateHub. We don't have any overlap on the board or in the management with the foundation benefactors, so we operate completely independently. The foundation operates with 4 key focus areas. Number 1, research and development, including developer relations, core development, API development, and open source repository facilitation. And number 2, reliable access to the XRP Ledger, and this includes publishing a UNL. It includes reliable full history access and transaction submissions. Number 3, social impact, for example, through the collaboration with educational institutions. And number 4, connections, such as facilitating meetings and networks between XRP Ledger stakeholders. So a lot has happened since Apex last year, both with the core XRP Ledger itself, where we've seen new features being amended, such as the tickets and negative UNL, but also the huge leaps in development of new feature proposals, like the native smart contracts and expanded signer lists. And last but not least, of course, the native non-fungible token support that, if all goes well, appears to go live in just about a week. But also in the broader XRP Ledger community, where a lot of new projects have seen the light of day, an increasing interest in using the native ledger features such as issuing tokens, and the overall revived and increased interest in building on and for the ledger. This keynote can't possibly cover everything that happened the last year, so we'll be addressing some of the few things that has had our dedicated attention before looking ahead at some of which is in focus for the coming time. We launched the token assessment framework in March, starting with self-assessment for token issuers. All token issuers are invited to complete a self-assessment questionnaire, whereafter the information is publicly available for investors to research and make personal quality assessments. The true primary objectives are to achieve better transparency for investors and also to improve self-regulation of the crypto entrepreneurs who are building and issuing tokens on the XRP Ledger. Since the launch of the token assessment framework, 165 different tokens have completed the self-assessment process. The increasing use of the XRP Ledger we have seen in the past year has also led to revisiting and optimizing how we load balance and how the transaction routing is done on XRPLcluster.com. In an average week, we now are handling more than 80 million connections from 10 million unique clients with more than 10 terabytes of data transferred. On average, there are 6,500 simultaneous connections, and it has had its peak in November of 2021 with a simultaneous 28,000 connections. So to handle the increased use, smart routing has been introduced behind the scenes. For example, so that full history nodes only handle the requests they can handle, and pathfinding is handled by dedicated pathfinding nodes. and requests related to current activity is handled by the non-full history nodes. In fact, when you connect to XRPL cluster, on average, a client is using 1.8 nodes behind the scenes. Clients are smoothly and fully automatically handed over between the nodes, either as nodes are being taken down for maintenance, or the automatic health checks that are implemented preventively hand over clients, or simply because of load balancing. All this has in the past year provided an uptime of 99.92% across all of the edges. In fact, most of the last 0.08% actually also had a response, but just a bit slower than 10 seconds. And this is example due to a failing backend node, so it's handed over. Behind the scenes, the server park increased in the last year from 18 to 38 nodes, scaled across all of the edges. And the edges are Frankfurt, San Francisco, New York, London, Singapore, Bangalore, and Toronto. So pretty global. Several repositories was also donated to the Foundation's GitHub organization that now hosts most of the core XRP Ledger projects, including the developer portal and several client libraries. The past year included noticeably community source code contributions as well, such as hooks with builders and libraries by XRPL Labs and Clio by Ripple. The XRP Ledger Standards repository has a lot of activity in the last year, with 8 new standard drafts submitted for discussion. For example, token-enabled escrows and payment channels, and a native automated market maker feature we just heard David talk about. All these standard contributions are public, and we invite everyone to participate both in discussing the existing proposals and by proposing new standards. And last but not least, since June, the XRP Ledger reference implementation, RippleD, is under the Foundation as well. I'll give the floor to Scott now, who will provide more updates from our educational and academic focus areas.
Thank you so much, Thomas, and really appreciate all of you being here. It's an incredible honor and a privilege to be able to address everyone and give updates on what the Foundation's been working on. So again, thank you all very much. Kind of continuing with the technology side of things, the XRP Ledger relies on UNLs, or unique node lists, to make forward progress. Each validator operator on the ledger must either use the software defaults, configure their own UNL, or subscribe to a public UNL, such as the Foundation's. Once the operator has installed their UNL, that node operator's validator will trust messages it receives from the validators included in its UNL. Those include proposed amendment and fee votes, as well as messages validating transactions contained in a given ledger. A lot of people want to contribute to the XRP Ledger by running validators. And I'm often asked by novice validator operators how they can get their node added to one of these published lists. Unfortunately, that's a really, really complex question for a couple of different reasons. First, I'm not responsible for building the list. Not my area. Second, there's just an incredible number of factors, right, that are involved in putting together a published UNL. Some factors, like having a high uptime and having an easily identifiable operator behind the server, are pretty straightforward. However, ensuring that validators are geographically distributed and distributed across data centers and internet service providers can be far more difficult. Thus, you could end up with a scenario where there's 2 extremely high-performing validators, but only one of the 2 makes it onto a published UNL, perhaps because the second is hosted on the same network as an existing validator that's already on the publisher's UNL. It's also important to note that published UNLs are typically relatively static, and they can be very slow to change. It takes a lot of time for new validators to gain a reputation and establish trust. Also, there's a very real risk to the network if a bunch of malicious validators were to be added to a published UNL. We like to move at a snail's pace at the foundation, generally speaking. Boring is safe for everyone, right? At the same time, a little excitement can be fun. As was publicized last year, there are ongoing plans for the foundation's published UNL so that no one entity has more than one validator on the UNL. This is going to continue to add diversity as well as resilience to the network. Shifting a bit from the technology side of things, more to the social side of things that we've been working on over the last side of year, the educational side as well. So we've partnered with Ripple over the last year. We've launched an initial cohort of ambassadors. These ambassadors are very knowledgeable and passionate about the XRP ledger. They're very well positioned to provide assistance to novice individuals and to businesses seeking to integrate with and build on the XRP ledger. One of the primary goals the foundation had in supporting the ambassador program was to provide more resources and access for businesses and enterprises. The ambassador program is divided into two distinct tracks. One track for student ambassadors, who are more focused on campus events, and a second track for community members, most of whom already lead projects and businesses. The ambassadors are a relatively diverse group. We have participants from more than 20 different countries. Yeah. And less than half of the student ambassadors are from the United States. However, some challenges do remain with regard to cultivating diversity within the ambassadors program, as well as the broader XRP ledger ecosystem. At this time, less than a quarter of the ambassadors identify as female, and there remains disproportionate representation from the United States. The Student Ambassador Program in particular dovetails nicely with other foundation projects, since master's and PhD level ambassadors are typically prepared to conduct research and publish on the XRP ledger. On the community side, there have already been 2 public community conference calls exploring important topics on the XRP ledger, including how amendments pass, as well as deep dives into the XLS 20 NFT amendment and the upcoming Hooks Amendment. Do stay tuned, as I expect the ambassadors are going to be scheduling another community call here soon, and they tend to have pretty neat guests. If you're interested in becoming an ambassador, go ahead and visit the webpage up on the slide, or get in touch with one of the existing ambassadors to express your interest and request additional information. New ambassadors are asked to agree to a code of conduct, as well as some basic expectations. So in addition to supporting student ambassadors, the foundation is also committed to supporting students as well as faculty in their scholarly pursuits. The primary goal of this support is to encourage cross-disciplinary collaborations. Through meetings that we've had with real-world stakeholders, the foundation team quickly realized an imminent need for a comprehensive, integrated body of knowledge about blockchain generally and the XRP ledger in particular. For example, gaps often exist between computer engineering departments and legal departments. These gaps can be detrimental, though, as they leave developers vulnerable to potentially falling into massive legal holes of which they're unaware. And I think everybody in this room knows there's quite a few of those in this space. Similarly, these gaps also leave legal departments unaware of the real-world challenges that developers face when they're actually bringing a product to market. And this is a massive loss, right? Because legal departments are very well positioned to advocate for legislation that can balance regulatory needs against developers' creativity. Thus, the foundation consistently prioritizes interdisciplinary collaboration through academic funding. We receive overwhelming positive feedback from the faculty and students alike regarding the efforts we make to unite diverse disciplines around a common goal. That goal being better understanding of the XRP ledger and the ways in which the ledger can be used to promote social good. Similar to other projects, we believe the efforts that we're making to promote cross-disciplinary collaboration now can be modeled more broadly at academic institutions around the world. The work that has been done to provide scholarships and grants has laid the foundation for some very exciting upcoming projects. So looking ahead, we're excited about the projects that we've accomplished over the last year. It's been a very productive year. We're eager to continue building on the projects that we've initiated, and we anticipate delivering several tangible outcomes over the coming months. While it's challenging to summarize everything we're working on in a half-hour presentation, as Thomas pointed out, let's take a brief look at some of the key upcoming projects and goals. So as I mentioned before, there are clear deficits with regard to blockchain law. These deficits are multifaceted, though, in that not enough legal professionals are explicitly trained in blockchain law, and also because there's an ongoing need to identify areas that require further knowledge or research. As regulatory frameworks continue to be refined, there is an increasing need for enterprises and governments to have access to competent counsel who are able to advise them on the nuances of blockchain. By partnering to develop this microdegree program, the foundation hopes to increase professional competence with existing legal frameworks, while also creating a recursive process whereby participants within the microdegree program identify gaps and additional knowledge or research areas which we can then subsequently address. The microdegree is going to cover many topics, ranging from Web3, an introduction to Web3, and the concept of a metaverse, all the way through legal frameworks for tokens, as well as NFTs. The foundation is very fortunate to have an accomplished attorney, Napanai, as one of our advisors. She's going to be delivering a keynote tomorrow, so please do stay tuned for that. Napanai is going to be collaborating very closely with some of our partner universities' legal departments to make this microdegree program a success. Similarly, the foundation has recently partnered with a very well-known development company in India, Ahom Technologies, to provide in-person training for students and professional developers to learn how to use and build on the XRP ledger. India is an ideal test market for the training center, as technology and development companies are abundant. The idea for this training center was born from a real-world need, not only for more developers in general, but for developers with the particular skills to work with the XRP ledger. While the curriculum is still being refined, it will likely feature a unique blend of foundational development skills that then build into XRP ledger-specific development skills. The foundation team believes there is substantial value in face-to-face collaboration between developers. Brainstorming just seems easier, and ideas flow faster when everyone's together in person. Thus, the foundation plans to include XRP Ledger community members in these trainings, either remotely or in person through sponsored trips. In this way, community members can benefit from the trainings while also helping us to refine the content. So thank you in advance. This inclusion is also consistent with the foundation's goal of bringing diverse people together to benefit society generally and the XRP Ledger in particular. In addition to the numerous partnerships we've identified thus far, the XRP Ledger Foundation has also partnered with Taltech University in Estonia to explore ways in which the XRP Ledger can be used to expand access to clean, renewable energy. Yeah. This partnership will enable 3 project ideas to be piloted and refined, so that if these pilots are successful, the projects can then be exported to people and economies who are energy insecure. The foundation and Taltech both plan for all the code that's developed under these projects to be published and made available under open source licenses. The first project uses on-ledger escrows to lock funds that are donated to purchase solar panels. So funding is automatically released to an installer as soon as a micro power inverter that's attached to the panel reports that that panel is generating electricity. I think with how bright these lights are, I could start generating electricity up here. In other words, a donor can put into XRP into an escrow for a solar panel, and then a few weeks later, right, you as a donor can go online and see how much electricity that solar panel that you sponsored is actually generating, right? And that electricity will be going directly into classrooms, offices, and other places at the university. This project is really useful in that it enables professional academics to develop and refine electronic schematics, communication systems, and technology systems architectures, which can then be used for other larger scale projects. The second project that we're partnered with Taltech on around energy for is very similar to the first in that it uses the XRP ledger to connect energy sponsors or donors with recipients who are in need. However, the second project differs from the first in that funds are used directly to purchase energy from a producer or a provider rather than being used to create a network of solar panels that generates its own electricity. Thus, this project has implications for carbon offset markets, as well as clean energy producers looking to market their energy. The third project we're partnered on Taltech with for energy focuses on actually creating that marketplace for the energy. Of course, the XRP ledger will provide the core exchange for that marketplace. If successful, such a market could be used to trade energy between producers, providers, businesses, and consumers. This project will also explore solutions for managing congestion within closed energy distribution systems, such as microgrids. The schematics and systems developed for the first project that I mentioned will be further evaluated and refined within the context of this third project. We're very eager to see how these partnerships and projects develop over the next year, and we think that there is real-world potential to improve access to clean energy. I'm going to give the floor back to Thomas now, so he can update everyone on what's been going on, or what's to come, rather, with the token assessment framework, the forensics platform, as well as the new data API. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. During the next year, we will introduce a second phase to the token assessment framework, where we are going to invite token issuers that has completed the self-assessment questionnaire to a validation process with a third-party auditing firm. Based on the output of this process through conversations and through reviews, the foundation will be publishing an advisory list for the broader ecosystem. While it can sound like the only goal is to hold the token issuers accountable for their public claims, we also hope, and we're pretty confident, that this process will help the adoption of many legitimate projects that have launched and are launching on the XRP ledger. We are also currently working to expand the framework for non-fungible tokens, so NFT marketplaces should be invited soon as well. In the next year, XRP forensics will be fully absorbed into the foundation as well. It will continue using the same methodology to flag and follow money of likely illicit accounts, but with additional resources to process data even faster as the XRP ledger keeps growing. The best use of the intelligence that we gather from victim reports, from the community, and by following the money is not to work on a case-by-case basis. We will instead focus on expanding our partnerships so the intelligence that is collected has a faster and wider reach. Our hope is that when a law enforcement agency picks up a case from a victim to fraud or to theft that is related to the XRP ledger, money could already have been traced by us or even been seized by an exchange that is partnered with us. We know that a lot of projects are still relying on the Ripple data API for getting data that is not readily available in the XRP ledger nodes itself. And since the API has been officially deprecated, there is an urgency to provide alternatives. And we're working on replacing this API. We're beginning with the most non-trivial data, and we're slowly expanding it as we get feedback from developers. The objective is to have one API, but use several different data stores behind the scene to serve the data that those data stores are best suited for. So naturally, we will be looking at using Clio for a lot of historical data. We'll look at graph databases for connected data, time series databases for exchange data, and so on. And in addition to the data API, we're also going to take over the maintenance and hosting of the existing public XRP ledger BigQuery dataset, including several community-sponsored schema improvements for that. But thank you all for listening, and please feel free to poke any of us during the conference if you would like to learn more about any of the topics we covered today, or if you have any questions about the foundation in general, or if you just would like to have a chat. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you all so much.